Yeah. Finally, we have arrived at our series, episode 1 of Alternates. If you have not seen the precursor video to this, I will link it here in the comments so that you can watch it. Alternate is about the alternate versions of different American Kempo techniques done by different lineages throughout all of American Kempo. So if you don't know, there's a couple things we need to touch on real quick. Number 1, from white belt to orange belt, most of the techniques, starting at delayed sword, going through to the Dance of Death list, are largely the same. In American Kempo, our techniques are specific names that teach many lessons and sometimes multiple lessons inside of multiple techniques. Starting with the first technique in American Kempo being delayed sword, going all the way up to the last one, the backbreaker extended. Many different lineages of American Kempo have these techniques largely the same, from right about white belt to about orange. There's also what's called the extensions. Now, the extensions, essentially, Ed Parker made pretty big, long techniques, some as short as 3 moves long, all the way up to sometimes 30 moves long. He made these big techniques, and then he broke them down in about half, give or take, depending on the technique itself. So, we're starting off this series with a technique called 5 swords. Why? Because it's one of the most popular techniques throughout American Kempo, and while it's super recognizable, it's also something that many schools indeed have done differently over the years. Depending on where and when you learned, in what decade and on what continent, different American Kempo schools just have different things. We're not going to go through and name any of the instructors, lineages, schools, or associations on where they come from, because this is a hot button issue, and many people in the Kempo karate community are in dissension over these things. There's a lot of debating and sometimes even arguing over the way techniques are supposed to be done. Now, most all of the American Kempo teachers agree they are to be taught in a specific order because, well, to build your library of motion, you have to have a foundation, and different Kempo techniques have different threads. Threads, for this particular lingo, is techniques that are done similarly in similar ways but teach different lessons. One of the most common, you have twin kimono and raking mace. We talk about this comparison often because the techniques end in either a chop elbow or end in an elbow chop. While they do teach different things in the beginning and in the middle, but it's a part of the same thread because it's a similar attack and they do similar motion throughout the technique, which is why most American Kempo instructors agree the techniques are to be taught in a specific order. Now, many instructors will say it needs to be to the back of Book 5 of Infinite Insights into Kempo. And while I generally agree, that's mostly if you're going to teach the IKKA way. We're starting off with 5 swords. Now, we're starting this off with it because Ed Parker himself, on the Tube of You, has a video out there where he's in black and white doing 5 swords. And just like it sounds, it's 5 hand swords. So the attack is here. The right punch circles into the left side of our face. We step forward. Well, he steps forward on this technique. Some instructors do teach step back on this as well. But he steps forward to 12 o'clock doing a double hand block, just like this. And this is not part of the actual sword count, but it's 2 hands open, wrist and at the elbow. There, from right there, he twists slightly for a hand sword to the throat and then does a full twist into a right forward bow with a left, almost like finger jabbing hand sword, untwists into the right neutral bow again with this shift as this hand sword comes up underneath side of the floating rib right there, reaching back in, chopping, grabbing and pulling their neck down for a hand sword to the back of the neck, and then double cover out. Now, don't forget your double cover out. That's going to be the tagline for our most self-defense studio. I just love that saying because many people indeed forget to do their double cover out. Don't forget to do your double cover out. There's another video on the Tube of You where Ed Parker, late 70s, early 80s, is again teaching a class. And I think this one was at a seminar, but it's on the Tube of You where he's teaching 5 swords as he steps in here still, but immediately does this as a chop and a palm heel strike, a uppercut, reaches back in and grabs and chops and pulls them down into a hammer fist. And then he indeed does not forget to do his double cover up because he's Ed Parker, of course. You can go look these videos up. Just like the Dance of Death comparison, and some instructors stepping back, some stepping forward. Well, you can go look up Ed Parker doing this 2 different ways. Now, many believe this is because as things evolved and changed, he wanted these things to evolve and change. He built American Kempo karate from Chinese Kempo in his training with James Mutos and his instructor, William Chow. These things were built up from this position of learning Chinese Kempo and adapting and creating it to the type of fighting he found in his environment. And thus, many instructors across the globe in most every continent have done a similar thing with their association and their skills and all of their different versions of techniques. So, we're now going to go through the way I originally learned in our school, what my father's school did for his and what I do for mine, as well as one of the most popular channels on Tube of You today. So, in the original Vision Quest Kempo Karate, the right hook punch comes in. You indeed step forward and wrist and inside of the elbow. From right there, you are chopping, palm heel, uppercut, reach back in and chop, grab, and pull them down for a hammer fist strike to the back of the neck. Don't forget your double cover out. Now, in my father's school, Dragonfly Integrated Martial Arts Academy, he had a different way of doing this. Now, I still do teach part of this way, and interestingly enough, the other school that we are going to be going over, a very popular Tube of You channel, does this first part the same as both my father's school and I do. And that is when the right hook punch comes in, instead of stopping at the wrist and the elbow, we stop at the inside of the elbow and the shoulder. So we are here instead of here. Left there on the inside of the elbow, right at the shoulder, if you catch it early enough. So we are here. From right there, he had a technique called pulling the ropes, which is an old boxing style technique. In pulling the ropes, you act like there is a rope tied between your wrists. One wrist moves, the other one follows along. This is done essentially to hide the rear punch and to be able to get some speed. So when we are here like that on these two in Dragonfly, he had pulling the ropes where this punch hides this one coming up underneath, shifting from that forward bow into that reverse bow for the uppercut, reaching back in and chopping to the side of the neck, pulling them down and hammer fisting to the back of the neck before hitting our double cover out. My self-defense studio, I have a similar way to that. However, mine, and if you're a fan of my self-defense studio, you know I mixed American Kempo with Muay Thai and Kali. So my 5 swords is not 5 swords, it's 5 wings. In 5 wings, we do have that same entry point where we are knee striking and palm, shoulder, and inside of the arm with our left hand inside of the bend of the elbow. So here, from right there, different than how my father had it, I have it immediately as a right elbow across the face. I come this way and then we circle it back in. So we are here, boom, and I land with that knee going down with that elbow coming in. Come across and I elbow back again, just like that with my back elbow coming across this side of the face there. From right there, I claw across the face and palm heel into the side of the face here. As I do that, I'm hooking into the back of the neck with my left hand and I pull them into that uppercut right there. From right there, I circle the left palm coming across, elbow again into the face, hook into the back of the neck, similar to the beating the drums fashion, and I pull them down for that elbow instead of a hammer fist right there. And we're double cover out for the base. So the My Self-Defense Studio version, we are here and here. As soon as I get to this point where I've done these two, I command that. I'm going to cross and back in right there. From right there, I'm going to unfold and claw, hook into the back of the neck, and I'm going to pull them down into this uppercut. From right here, I'm going to claw cross this way and elbow and hook to the back of the neck, just like in beating the drums, and I pull them down here for the elbow that way, and we're out. Don't forget your double cover out. There's a very, very popular Tube of You channel, which I won't name because I mentioned the dissension in the Kempo community, but they're a very popular channel, and I think it needs to be said, I love these guys. They are awesome. I don't know that they have a TikTok, but they have an amazing YouTube channel. Excuse me. They have an amazing Tube of You channel, and they are awesome. But I've never seen the way they end this technique. So, interestingly enough, they also have that knee check and this at the inside of the elbow where it bends, and the shoulder going in here and here. From right there, they have it as chop and palm heel, and then circle from that forward bow stance into the uppercut. From this point, they stop, which was very interesting to me because I've never seen anybody stop at the uppercut. I believe it's associative of doing 5 swords in the short and long 2 version of that abbreviated version, but this very popular Tube of You channel does this where they stop at the uppercut. So they are also here, and then immediately they do the chop, they do the palm heel, they circle in this uppercut, and they're out. Double cover out, and they're done there. And I found that to be very, very interesting. First time I've ever seen anybody stop at the uppercut. I'm not knocking it at all. I'm a big fan of their channel, but I did find that to be very interesting. And now, lastly, I'm going to touch on a couple different ways on how to do the extended version, as we discussed how these techniques were cut in half. And indeed, people's extensions are also different depending on where you go, who the instructor was, when they were learning all these factors. For my original lineage, we were here, 1 and 2, pulling them into the uppercut, grabbing and chopping, pulling them down for that hammer fist, immediately taking this left hand and circling it up to claw across the left and circling it down to our right hip, our right claw across the face. And at the same time as we do that right claw, our left hand pivots and changes. We do a palm heel strike and claw pulling, and then downward hammer fist, raising up the right heel kick to the groin on our way out. And we're out. Don't forget your double cover out. So once again, on this version was 1, 2, and 3. Bring them here, 1, and then 2. When we get to extended, we claw, palm strike, pull, hammer, heel kick, and we're out. But I have seen it done differently, of course, and the whole point of this series. So another version is 1, 2, and 3. Hitting that hammer fist, going back in and chopping, pulling them down here. I have seen that very popular Tube of You channel. As soon as they've done that pull down hammer fist, come back on top, left hammer fist, right hammer fist. They don't have this part here, and they circle that right hammer fist down for a downward hammer strike to the groin, and then heel kick out and double cover out, which I found to be very interesting because I have this whole extra motion in there, and we know from economy of motion, well, whether or not you do these things or not, if you have the same provided result, right? So once more for that popular channels version, Actually, they started off with this here like we did, and then immediately went 1 and then 2 and then here. So for those guys, they do at that point go back in for the chop and pull down. However, from this point there, left, right, turn, hammer, and heel kick, and then you're out. Depending on where you learn, depends on what style you're going to get of American Kempo. And I wholly believe these things should be celebrated, not ridiculed, not demeaned, not criticized, not debated, not argued. We know, especially if you're a Kempo purist, we know what's in the back of book 5. We do. However, it's super cool to see what everybody else has and the way Mr. Parker had shown them, or their head instructor. I'm Instructor Thompson, my self-defense studio, and I can't wait for episode 2. See you soon.